I mean, you've had it pretty good. So there's a degree of jealousy involved.
Andrew Tate is throwing shade at Jake Paul and Logan Paul. He's calling them out for their behavior and mocking them, making fun of their actions and public personas. Tate doesn't hold back, pointing out things he believes are flaws in how they present themselves. His comments are stirring up drama and making people take notice of the ongoing tension between them.
Logan Paul is a bitch, and I will say that here publicly. If anyone wants, I'll fight him for free.
Andrew Tate is done with Jake and Logan Paul, calling them a stain on combat sports. He compares them to sewer rats that just won't go away. And honestly, he's not alone. Plenty of people are fed up too. Tate believes the Paul brothers are treating boxing like a cash grab, turning it into a WWE-style spectacle. Their next so-called fight, set for March 27th, looks like just another overhyped, scripted event that's more about the money than real competition.
He doesn't stand up for anything, and he doesn't mean anything he says.
Let's be clear. Selling PPVs, controlling their fan base, and squeezing every last bit of attention before people realize the fraud isn't about competitive skill or showing who is the superior fighter. Logan Paul, the face of corporate sellouts, epitomizes a man who lacks integrity, has no genuine beliefs, and is only loyal to his financial account.
Logan Paul doesn't believe in any of the things he says. Logan Paul is a man, if you ever were unfortunate enough to consume his content, I get sent clips of it all the time by people mocking him.
Before Tate got banned, Logan was all over him, sharing his clips and acting like he respected him. But as soon as Tate was cancelled, Logan switched sides quicker than a politician on election day. Suddenly, Tate was problematic, and Logan jumped on the same scripted corporate bandwagon, calling Tate a bad influence.
He said, I think he even said in his video he made about me, when you get canceled, Andrew's pretending he doesn't care and he's some stoic warrior, but I know how much it hurts. Logan, it hurt you because you're a bitch. I don't give a fuck. I've been saying I'm going to get canceled for the last 2 years.
This is the same Logan Paul that has made a living out of scandals, frauds, and pure silliness.
Logan is a man who will say anything he thinks he is supposed to say so that the people in charge of him don't take his YouTube channel away, because if he loses it, he has nothing else.
The same Logan Paul who started a cryptocurrency hoax, stole millions, and then pretended it never happened, is the genius who recorded a dead body in Japan and laughed about it. Now, he wants to stand on a moral high ground. Logan, everything you say and do is pre-approved by your corporate masters, and you'll follow their instructions as long as the check clears. You lack ethics, principles, and even a distinct personality.
He doesn't believe what he's saying. He's bought and sold. He's a puppet. He's a clown. And his clown is, when you're a clown, right?
As for Logan's fighting career, if you can even call it that, he barely made it through an amateur match with KSI, then ran straight to WWE, where even your grandma knows the fights are staged. Honestly, that's exactly where he belongs, throwing fake punches at actors in a scripted show, pretending to be tough while knowing no one's actually trying to hurt him.
I don't take it personally, but I do have a dislike, and just as on a personal level in general, for cowardice, hypocrisy, switching up on people. That's just not how I roll with my team.
His fight with Floyd Mayweather? A total joke. Floyd carried him through 8 rounds like he was babysitting a toddler. If Mayweather actually wanted to fight, Logan would have been out cold before the 2nd round. But Logan had to survive to keep the scam going, so they turned the whole thing into a glorified sparring session. Logan isn't a fighter. He's a marketing campaign in boxing gloves, selling hype and fake drama, while real fighters are out there putting their lives on the line in the sport.
You are a clown. You are a performing clown.
And there's Jake Paul, the so-called problem child who's really just a privileged, attention-hungry YouTuber pretending to be a boxer. He built his whole fake boxing career by carefully picking opponents, like a scam artist choosing his next target. He fights retired MMA fighters with no boxing experience, smaller influencers, and washed-up athletes. Every single match is handpicked to make him look good.
When I made the video, I really disliked Jake Paul. Now, I don't dislike him, I understand him. I want to make something clear. I would still kick the living fuck.
And his latest masterpiece was fighting a 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Let's just take a moment to appreciate how cowardly it is to call yourself a serious boxer while picking a fight with someone who's nearly old enough for a senior citizen discount. Mike Tyson is a legend, no doubt, but this isn't 1986, and it's clearly not the same Tyson who was knocking people out in 90 seconds. This is just a businessman cashing in on nostalgia, and Jake knows it. If Jake were serious about boxing, he'd be fighting young, active, dangerous fighters. But he's not, because deep down, he knows exactly what would happen.
However, I do understand what he's doing. I understand that he is very, very smart, even with his marketing angle. I'm just a YouTuber. You're not just a YouTuber. You're a full-grown man with the best coaches in the world who's dedicated his life to learning how to box for years. You know how to box. You're not a complete amateur. You know how to box very well. 3, 4, 5 years of training combat sports. You can box.
Let's talk about Tommy Fury, the first time Jake actually fought someone his own age, size, and with real boxing experience. He got humbled fast when he couldn't rely on fighting an ex-UFC fighter with no boxing skills. The illusion of him being a real boxer completely shattered. So what did Jake do after that? Did he step up and fight another legit boxer? Nope. He went back to fighting old men and influencers. He's not about real competition, he's just about keeping the scam going.
Because he's allowed himself to become the biggest clown on the internet, and now he's famous, right? Because he's an idiot, but he has a bunch of money, so he gets to...
The so-called rivalry between the Paul brothers is as fake as Logan's WWE matches and Jake's boxing record. This isn't about real competition, it's a business move, a scripted drama created to stir up controversy and make millions. Andrew Tate has already exposed them. Jake and Logan aren't fighting because they have actual beef. They're fighting for a multi-million-dollar payday, and their gullible fan base will fall for it every time.
I have the opposite perspective. I feel like ruining my little brother's boxing career would be so bad.
This is the same recycled playbook they've been using for years. Fake drama, exaggerated feuds, and over-the-top WWE-style storylines, all created to grab headlines and boost pay-per-view sales. It's probably the biggest cash grab in combat sports history. They stir up tension, throw some staged insults on social media, set up a few dramatic face-offs, and then act like they're settling it in the ring, while laughing all the way to the bank. And the sad part? It works because people are gullible enough to buy into it. Logan and Jake aren't enemies. They're business partners, and this whole grudge match is just another scam to make money.
Listen, he's a young kid out there trying to make some money.
Has already exposed their lack of loyalty, and this so-called rivalry only proves it. Logan is teaming up with KSI, the same guy who publicly embarrassed Jake, and somehow that's not a red flag? What kind of brother partners up with his sibling's biggest enemy just for a payday? Logan and KSI literally own a company together, Prime Energy, a cheap, sugar-filled scam drink that they push to their fans while pretending to be fighters. And now, suddenly, Logan's fighting Jake? It's so clearly staged, it's almost insulting to anyone with an IQ above room temperature.
Something to do with some sort of episodic thing, right? That was my first thought. This is not a fight. This is some sort of episodic or documentary style.
Let's be real. The only fight that actually matters is Andrew Tate versus Jake Paul. That's the fight that would settle everything. But guess what? Jake doesn't want it. Tate has already said he's been in talks with Jake's team, but Jake refuses to sign the contract because he knows exactly what would happen. He avoids real fights like his life depends on it.
I'm just going to tell you the truth. It's not. They're not.
Tate has already pointed out Jake's steroid use, and that's one of the main reasons this fight isn't happening. Jake wouldn't even pass a real drug test, it's obvious. He gains muscle too quickly, jumps between weight classes like it's easy, and his physique screams something's off. On the other hand, Tate has a legitimate record as a world champion kickboxer, with real fights against real opponents. There's no rigged matches or handpicked fights for him. Jake's entire career has been built on fake fights, but against Tate, there's nowhere to hide. The whole circus with Jake and Logan is just another distraction, a staged fight meant to deceive the public. These two have somehow convinced people they're legitimate fighters, when everything they do is carefully planned for business purposes. And the worst part? Their fans actually believe it. People are spending money on these fake matches, thinking they're watching a real rivalry, when in reality, the Paul brothers are business partners profiting off people's gullibility. Tate is laughing at how easy it is for them to manipulate their audience into supporting their scams. This fight isn't about competition. It's all about selling drama, creating controversy, and keeping Jake and Logan in the spotlight. The biggest scam in combat sports is unfolding right before our eyes, and fans are happily buying into it. Jake and Logan aren't fighters. They're businessmen, content creators, and reality show stars who've turned boxing into a joke. This fight isn't about proving who's the best, it's just another way to make money. The real losers are the people who pay to see it. Andrew Tate sees through all of this, and so does anyone with a little common sense. This isn't real boxing, and it's certainly not about legacy. It's just a money-making circus, and Jake and Logan Paul are the main clowns.